Shalom. So, I thought this on the PVK Discord server, if you guys know it, we've been discussing Isaiah chapter 53, and I thought we would go over it because this is the famous forbidden chapter of Isaiah. Um, so. Uh, just as an introduction, and you can skip this, and if you already know this stuff, but so this is a chapter that a lot of Christians believe is very obviously talking about Jesus, and so there is this idea that this is somehow a forbidden chapter, that if Jews were allowed to simply see it, we would all suddenly become Christians. And honestly, this is one of the silliest ideas I've ever heard. Um, so let me explain why people say that and why it's ridiculous. So in Judaism, like I think I've said before, we split up the Torah into three sections. So that's why it's called the Tanakh. The Hebrew Bible is called the Tanakh. That's an acronym for Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketubim. Okay? So Torah is the five books of Moses, Nevi'im are the prophets, and Ketuvim translates as the writings. Okay? So basically the Torah, so like the Sadducees and the Samaritans, um, a lot of I mean they didn't even accept the other books of the Bible. There are 24 books in the Hebrew Bible. The way we count them, we do the 12 minor prophets, what's called Treasar, meaning 12 minor prophets into one book. So that comes out to 24. Um, and the so I mean, in early Judaism, obviously, at the very beginning, we only had what Moses taught, the five books of Moses, and so a lot of sects only believe in the Torah, and the Torah, the five books of Moses are treated very differently in Judaism from the rest of the Bible. That's the one we read from a scroll every time we have liturgical readings in the prayers. So every Monday and Thursday and Saturday, there are readings from the Torah. If you go to a Jewish synagogue, um, on the Saturday morning services or pretty much any holiday service, you're going to at the very least in the morning, you're going to have a Torah reading, right, from the five books of Moses. And all of the 613 commandments, what we refer to as the law, right, is the five books of Moses. Okay? So all the commandments come out of there. Pretty much, that is the central text of Jewish life more than anything else. So the liturgical readings, the way they're set up, the liturgical calendar, um, in the synagogue is you read from the Torah, and every year at Simchat Torah, which is during the festival of Sukkot, it's at the end of this festival of Sukkot, which is right after Yom Kippur, right? That's when we finish, right? So every year you have the complete Torah from the beginning to the end read in the synagogue, right? And then a lot of people follow what's actually, I mean, it's considered a requirement within Judaism. Not that everybody does it, but to we actually do what's called Shnai Mikra V'chad Targum, which is twice in Hebrew and once in Aramaic. You're supposed to also, repeat it for yourself. So the Torah, you know, that's the text we focus on. And the Navi and the Ketuvim, they they also come up in liturgical readings and one of the things that the rabbis instituted was that we have what's called the Haftarah, right, which is after the reading of the Torah, uh, a segment of um, from the rest of the Bible, from Nevi'im or Ketuvim, usually from Nevi'im, um, is read that kind of parallels whatever the Torah reading was, right? Because generally, I mean, in Judaism, we believe that the rest of the Bible is a repetition or clarification um, or continuation of what's in the Torah already, right? The Torah is complete, and you can't add to it or take away from it. The other books of the Bible are simply re-emphasizing what is important in the Torah. Okay, so we have the reading of the Torah, and we study the Torah, the five books of Moses, most intensely. There's no question about that. And then during the liturgical readings, there's also, we do some of the rest of the Bible, right? So, for example, in the Fast of Esther, which is, you know, we read the book of Esther, obviously, right? Purim, we read that. Or on Yom Kippur, we read the book of Jonah, right? So there are there are the there are times when we read from the rest of the Bible, but liturgically during prayer services, the focus is clearly the five books of Moses. Okay, beyond anything else, and um, there are different people who have different customs. Which reading you do, it's not so set. You can read pretty much from anything from the Bible. Although traditions have, we do have most. I mean, there are two or three different traditions of what you read as the Haftarah, which is it literally means what finishes, um, because we do the Torah reading, and then we have the Haftarah, which is the reading from the other part of the Bible, which finishes the liturgical reading, right? Okay, so there are so basically what's in the liturgical reading is the Torah and and the haftarahs and certain books based on the fact that they're somehow involved with whichever holiday. Okay, so that's the liturgical readings. The rest of Nevi'im and Ketuvim, honestly, they don't get. Oh, I should have pulled this up. I'm sorry. Um, the the rest of the Torah readings, we don't really study them, right? I mean, not the Torah readings. The rest of the 24 books of the Bible. Here on Sefaria, I'll show you, right? So we call Tanakh, right? Like I said, Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. That's the 24 books of the Bible. And then, so you see here, it says under calendar, it says Parshat Hashavua, like the Parsha is the part of the Torah, the five books of Moses. We study we read in the Torah every day, right? And then there's the Haftarah, like I said, which is from the this week's section of the Bible, right? And you'll see that this week, for example, this today is July 22nd, 2020. So the parsha of the week is Deuteronomy, Devarim, right? Deuteronomy 1. And then the Haftarah is Isaiah 1 through 27, right? And we won't get into the rest of this, but so those are the liturgical readings, right? Okay. As far as the rest of the Bible, though, while it's kind of expected that you go through it by yourself, honestly, at least for boys in most schools, um, they don't necessarily go through the rest of the Bible. Boys are expected to study the Talmud, right, and the codes and everything that goes along with that. Now, the reason I pulled this up is so you can see how. So this is Torah on the left, right? The 5 books of Moses, and then this is the Nevi'im, right? Which includes Samuel, Judges, First and Second Kings, right? And then there's the Ketuvim, right? Which includes Psalms, First and Second Chronicles, right? Ezra and Nehemiah are considered Ketuvim. Daniel is also considered Ketuvim, not Nevi'im. Okay, so these are the 24 books of the Bible on top. And then on the bottom, these are all the books and pages of the Talmud, right? So you see that even though obviously the the 5 books of Moses have pretty much get quoted all over the Talmud, so does the rest of Nevi'im and Ketuvim, right? And so when you're studying Talmud, right, the Talmud is the explanation of the Torah and the rest of the Bible, right? So while you're studying the Talmud, you're going through the Talmud. Whenever you get a verse is quoted, you're expected. Anybody who's genuinely studying the Talmud is expected to look up the verse and see what the context there is. So, because then it's quoted in the Talmud. And this is part of the reason why Talmudic study is so hard, is because you're trying to learn so the Talmud is a debate about what the Torah is teaching us, right? Different rabbis have different opinions, and so you're trying to learn how the debate goes, right? It's called the Shakal and Tarya, the back and forth of a legitimate debate on exegesis, on how to decide what to do and how to live your life, right? All that and what God wants from us, right? So in the middle of the debate, the rabbis will quote different verses, right? Or sometimes they simply ask, so what does this verse mean, or what? So you're going through the Talmud, and as you go through the Talmud, you get verses that are pretty much the whole Bible. I mean, you can go through if you like and see pretty much. I mean, if a verse doesn't get quoted itself, that paragraph does. And in order to understand the verse, usually most people will read the entire chapter to know what. I mean, that's what I always did. You have to know how that verse is in context, because the Talmud is not going to tell you that, right? They're just going to quote the verse, and usually they just quote a few words from the verse, and you're kind of expected to already know the whole context, right? So you go look it up and you understand what it means in context, and then you also have to figure out how it's being used in the Talmud. Okay? So that's how most yeshiva students, right, Orthodox Jews, and certainly ultra Orthodox Jews, that's actually how they end up learning the Tanakh, right? So verses that get quoted a lot in the Talmud, and I mean most of those are from the Torah, um, they're the ones they're going to know the best, and the verses that don't really get quoted, people don't know as much. Obviously, if it's part of the liturgical readings, and a lot of the liturgical readings are from Isaiah. They really are. The Haftarot, a lot of them are from Isaiah. Like this week's just happened to be from Isaiah. Um, and so what happens is either while you're trying to look up the liturgical readings, you'll often read what's around it as well to understand what's going on, right? Obviously, not everyone does this, but not everyone does a lot of things, you may have noticed. Um, but that's how most Orthodox Jews end up learning the other 24 books of the Bible. It's either in the liturgical readings, or more likely it's whenever it's quoted in the Talmud. Then you go back and you look at it in context and you learn it, right? Now, people also, I mean, there's nothing preventing you from. There's certainly no prohibition, which is what really gets me when people say the forbidden chapter, as if any part of the Torah is forbidden to learn, and that's just ridiculous. Um, so there are people who do go through the Navi as well. It's not very common, right? And it's usually not part of the male yeshivas, because they have so many other things, and it's kind of expected. It's kind of child stuff, right? So you don't need somebody to teach you Navi, right? The rest of the Bible. You can just go look it up and read it and learn it by yourself, right? And it's kind of like the background. As you're learning the rest of the Talmud, you're kind of expected to also read the rest, read whatever the verses are in context. Okay, so that's for the men. Now, a lot of girls' yeshivas, because the more Orthodox people don't teach Talmud to girls, um, usually. I mean, Chabad teaches some Talmud to girls, but a lot of Orthodox and ultra Orthodox don't teach Talmud to girls. So the girls will go through the whole Navi. Um, and that's part of what makes it silly to me. So the reason the people who say that Isaiah is the forbidden chapter of the Bible, um, is it's Isaiah 53 is not one of the liturgical readings, as far as I'm aware of any one tradition. Obviously, I mean, I guess you could read it, because I mean, that there isn't a set liturgy necessarily. I mean, there are customs, but right. So I guess you could read it as a haftarah, especially if for example, some people specifically read the haftarah out of a scroll, right? And some people only have a scroll of Isaiah. Um, and so I guess people like that in a situation like that might read the scroll of Isaiah 53 in that context, but usually not, right? Um, so the people who say that it's the forbidden chapter say, okay, it's not in the liturgical readings. You're right, it's not in the liturgical readings, pretty much. and it's not taught in the curriculum, which is true. It's not taught to boys in the curriculum specifically, right? Although, I mean, just because I looked up the verses from chapter 53, and chapter 53 isn't very long. Um, Isaiah 53 is 12 verses, and twice it's quoted once in Sanhedrin, once in Barachot, right? So two times in the Talmud, it's and you can click, right? So if you want, you click on Isaiah here, right? And then 53, you'll see um, chapter 53, that's 51, 52, 53, right? So it says Sanhedrin 98b and Isaiah 53:4. So Isaiah 53:4 is on is quoted on Sanhedrin 98b, right? So if you're learning Sanhedrin 98b, the right thing to do is you go and you learn what's in Isaiah 53. It's kind of considered like background information. Um, but it's not specifically taught in the curriculum in almost any yeshiva to boys, certainly. Um, it is in a lot of high schools for girls because they'll go through the whole Tanakh because they don't have a Talmud class, right? Anyway, so the people who say that it's the forbidden chapter say, well, it's not in the curriculum of the yeshivas, and it's not in the liturgical readings. And then some people go really crazy, and they say, well, 53 is between two haftarot, right? Because apparently 52 and 54 are both in the liturgical readings, and 53 isn't, so they skipped it on purpose, which is one of the silliest things I've ever heard, because as far as people studying, like, especially people who aren't very religious, people who don't have, who are never going to go through the whole Talmud, right? Plenty of people don't really study much Talmud past if they take any Talmud classes, and if they do, they may not end up learning. So what a lot of people do is in synagogue, they'll read around the haftarot, right? And generally, because so many of the haftarot are in Isaiah, if somebody's going to study the Navi, right? Study from that section, they're going to probably be looking at Isaiah. They're probably going to be looking at the Haftarot. And reading in between the Haftarot is very common. I mean, that's one of the first things. If there are several Haftarot, one after the other, then I'm going to read the whole thing in order to understand the context, right? So saying that it's hidden between two Haftarot, if you want to hide something, you don't bookend it with two haftarot, because the most natural thing to do is you're reading this haftara and then the next haftara, and you might just read a chapter before and after, to get greater context or to go through, right? So this whole idea that this is a forbidden chapter is just so silly. But yeah, people have this idea, and it's obviously not true, that it's in any way forbidden. Is it one of the lesser? I mean, yeah, it's one of the lesser learned ones. We put emphasis on the five books of Moses over anything else. the liturgical calendar doesn't include 53, Isaiah 53, doesn't include a lot of the Bible. And if people are going to study, you know, if most people who are full time studying in yeshivas and, they will study the rest of Nach, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim based on where it shows up in the Talmud as background material. Okay, so now we can. I just wanted to put that silliness to rest. But because of that, I thought, you know what? And I was going through it with somebody on the Discord. So I thought, here, you know what? Let's go through it. And there was a interesting thing in 53:3 when we were discussing it. So I'll once we get to there, I'll go over 53:3 as well. That one word, and hopefully this will be a good exercise. Okay, so Isaiah chapter 53. Now, just as a preface, chapter 52 obviously is talking about the Jewish people as a nation, right? And the simple explanation is 53 also. Like, we would say this is the pshat, right? Is the simplest way of understanding it. 53 is also talking about the nation of Israel as the suffering servant, right? There are obviously 70, we say there are 70 faces to the Torah. There are various levels of reading the Torah. And if you're looking at specifically, I mean, if you look at the commentaries, Rashi has this as the suffering servant because that's what goes along with 52 and 54. They're both, those are obviously, there's no question, talking about the nation of Israel as the suffering servant. But as a prophetic text, this is also a chapter which the commentators start talking about Mashiach ben Yosef. That's the Josephite Messiah, as opposed to the Davidic Messiah, which you may not know about. But so, I mean, this is another thing: is people will go, well, why do some commentators? And I actually read this. Somebody said that Rashi was rewriting, was reinterpreting it differently. Rashi lived about 1,000 years ago, and so his explanation is always the pshat, is always the simple reading. It's what we teach to little children. But if you're being, the other commentators will go further in and with individual verses and talk especially about places where the Talmud brings it or Midrash brings it or whatever, right? So there are various levels. And another thing I read is people say, well, why does Rashi interpret this one way, whereas people interpret this another way? And honestly, to Jews, that's a silly thing to say because we interpret every verse multiple ways. Obviously, what we say is Ein Hamikra Yotze Mepshuto, the first and simple meaning always governs, and you can never explain a verse in a way that escapes its simple meaning, right? You have to always keep the simple meaning in mind, so you don't just like bend a verse to mean the precise opposite of what you started. rather you study it full, right? There are multiple levels of meaning, right? So it, that's another silly thing people say about, and honestly, this stuff is so silly. Um, and genuinely, I'll tell you, a lot of, and I hate to say this, but there are certainly some very skeptical secular Israelis often who know enough Hebrew and enough of the Bible um, to be incredibly horrible people, and especially that they will take advantage of the philo-Semitism in especially the evangelical community in the United States. There's a lot of very well-meaning um, American evangelicals who have an idea which is biblical about um, how Israel is the apple of God's eyes, and how the Jewish people are chosen, and these people, unfortunately, they never really consider, well, how do I know if this person is really Jewish? And part of that is, how do I know if this person is a good Jewish person as opposed to a bad Jewish person? Um, and so, unfortunately, there's people who will use their knowledge of Hebrew and their Jewish background, and especially, they will go praying like so many people do on the faith of people, and so there are all these really horrible people who are um, they pretend like they're making videos which will convince Jews to become Christians. But obviously, if you're Jewish, you watch these videos and these are like, oh my God, if you want to convert Jews, wrong way, man, wrong way. Because it feeds into um, some beliefs that evangelicals may have, which are not even close to anything I would really consider. And yeah, it's bad. I'm sorry. It's bad. And some of these videos, they really they break my heart. Both because of the things they say, which a lot of them is like horrible things about how the rabbis are out to, and honestly, some of it is just plain anti-Semitic, um, unfortunately. And I don't throw that word around. I try not to, but some of these videos are just plain anti-Semitic, right? They have this idea that people who spend their whole lives focused on, like people who genuinely do. I'm not talking about the fakers, right? I'm not talking about um, the horrible, you know, the horrible people who take advantage of religious people, but people who are genuinely dedicated to um, to a life, a holy life, and like they describe people in such horrible ways. Um, it so it hurts me the content, which is casting aspersions on people who are vast majority of religious Jews living there, especially in insular Hasidic communities. They honestly, most of them, um, if they had a belief, if they actually believed that Jesus was the Messiah, of course they would convert. Um, I mean, people. These are people of genuine faith, right? And to cast aspersions on them is just horrible. And then to use that anti-Semitism and those aspersions to get money from people is doubly anti-Semitic by Jews, right? These Jews are actually doing the horrible things and reinforcing a stereotype, which obviously is horrible, and so it just pains me so much. But here we are. We live in a world where things are not as they should be. Okay, so let's do Isaiah 53, and Be'ezrat Hashem, with God's help, we will help purify the world so that we don't have to talk about such things anymore. Anyway, so 52 is talking about it's talking about obviously it's talking about the nation of Israel. I believe 54 is as well. 53, the Pashat Pshat, what we would teach a 5-year-old child, like, you know, as they're going through. The Pashat Pshat is that it's talking about, and what Rashi brings is that it's talking about the Jewish people as a whole. And then at a deeper level, there's this idea that it's actually talking about Mashiach ben Yosef, and what exactly Mashiach ben Yosef is, that's a whole other thing. It's a huge discussion, which is part of the reason you often don't bring that up, because vast majority of people have never heard of Mashiach ben Yosef, and by Yosef, I'm talking about Joseph the Patriarch. I'm not talking there's so much to say. Anyway, if you're interested, put a comment. We'll talk. I will explain whatever. But yeah, let's go. So, chapter 53, verse 1. Mi ha'amin lishmuatenu uzroa havaya al mi nigleta. Okay, so me, it's the interrogatory, right? Who? It's asking the question who. He'emin is the hifil of emunah, right? The word amen. It means aleph mem nun is the root, and it is in the hifil. It's in the causative, right? So who would believe, right? Yeah, he'emin, who would be caused to believe, or who has believed. Yeah, that's fine. Right? The root here is emunah, and it's in the hifil, third person masculine singular. Lishmuatenu. Okay, now this is a bit more complicated. There's the prepositional lamed, meaning to, right? And then the root is shin mem ayin, which means to hear, right? And shmua is actually we're gonna get into this as well. It's a noun meaning there's translating as report, but things you hear, right? That's a shmua, right? It comes from the root shema, which means to listen, and a shemua is something you listen to. Okay, so shmua tenu, and the root and the suffix is third person collective plural, right? So our, right? To our reports, to what we have heard. Okay? Who would believe, right? Shmuatenu. Uzroa, right? So the conjunctive of, Zroa is arm, right? Zroa, yad means hand. Zroa is the whole arm, right? And here it is written ben milui, which I guess is normal. Yeah, because if you don't write it that way, it would look like it's zera. So usually zroa is ben milui written with the vav. But and it's in the construct form with the tetragrammaton, the name of God, so the arm of God. And the arm of God, al mi nigleta. So al is the preposition with the ain, not aleph. Mi is again the interrogatory. Nigleta is the root is gimel lamed gimel lamed hey, I think it is. They're saying, yeah, Gimel Lamed Hey to to reveal, and this is in the Nifal, right? Nigleta. Um, I don't know why they're saying it's the third person feminine singular. Well, okay, yeah, because Zrua is feminine, right? So Nigleta so the root Gimel Lamed Hey means to reveal. Nigla is revealed, that which is revealed. So then it's in the Nifal form, right? And so the arm of God to who is revealed, right? Has been revealed. So this is the passive, the Nifal form, Nigleta, right? Okay. Um, Okay, so let's. Those are for something else. Isaiah 53. Where did I do with Isaiah 53? There we go. Sorry about that. I tried. I tried to be ready. Okay, so King James, who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? Okay, yeah, I can go with that. NIV, who has believed our message? Okay, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Okay, yeah, it's very similar. I think it's pretty clear. Um, I am not going to do the Rashis, but you can look at the Rashis if you like. He does the simple, right? It's continuing to talk about what it spoke about in the previous chapter. Would have believed our report? Yeah, would have. Yeah, I would probably say would have as well. And to whom has the arm of the Lord revealed? And to whom was the arm of the Lord revealed? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think all three of them are pretty much saying the same thing. Okay, next verse. Ve'ya'al kayonek lefanav v'chashoresh me'eretz tzia lo tor um, lo tor lo velo hadar v'nir'ehu velo mar'eh v'nehmedehu. Okay, uh, complex sentence. And this is one of the things you will notice if, when you're looking at the Navi as opposed to the Torah is obvious. I mean, I think it's obvious. It's a bit of a simpler Hebrew, whereas since Isaiah was written years after the Torah, it's obviously it's a more it it's a more complex Hebrew. So okay, let's go through it. But yeah, okay. Va'ya'al. So we have a conjunctive vav, which may or may not flip the tense, right, from the imperfect to the perfect and the perfect to the imperfect. You have to figure that out from the context, right? Va'ya'al. So ya'al, the root is Ein Lamed Hey, I think, Aliyah. Um, Ein Lamed Hey, yeah, to go up, to ascend. Um, so Vayal, that is in the imperfect, consecutive imperfect, and shall grow. So they're not flipping it. They're saying that um, it's still in the future, right? And that's something you have to figure out from context, whether or not that and is just an and, or if it's an and that's flipping the verse from Ya'al, shall rise or grow, right? Shall rise, or whether it's being flipped and it's actually in the past tense, right? It did grow, right? Kayonek. So there's the prepositional chaf, which means as or like, with the article, right? So with the definite. So they're saying here as a tender plant, but this is actually in the Hebrew, it's as the tender plant. Um, Ka yonek. And yenika, yud nun kof, is to suckle. Like a calf suckles, right? It's a it it nurses from its nurses. Sorry, not suckle. That's the other thing. So like a calf will nurse from its mother. Yonek means, and it is with a milui here, if you're keeping track of that, with the vav, which I guess. Um, but it's like a well, they're saying tender plant, which probably is actually the correct one, but it's literally it just means like a nursling, right? So you know how a nursery is also, you buy saplings at a nursery. Similar idea here. Okay. So kayonek lefanav. So like as a tender young thing, they're saying plant, which makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Lefanav. So prepositional lamed. And then fanav means literally his face, but in front of, right? Towards his face is in front of. Lefanav. And it before him, right? And that's how they translate it, which is fine. Um, the vav at the end tells you his, right? So, and it rises like a shoot or a tender plant or a young thing before him, right? Um, you might be saying that's flipping. V'chashoresh, so conjunctiva, prepositional chaf with the article again. And as a shoresh, right, and the root shin resh shin is actually means root, right? That is the root. The root is root. Um, and shoresh is written bechisaron. It's written without above, which is not surprising. But if you're keeping track of whether it's bemilui or bechisaron, this is bechisaron. V'chashoresh, and like a root, and this is how we know that the yonek is talking about a plant, right? So that's the context within which you kind of figure out the rest of it, right? V'chashoresh, and like a root, which I guess a young root, right? It doesn't actually say young, but like a root. Me'eretz, that's the prepositional mem. Eretz means land. It's a very common word. Tzia. So this actually one of my favorite verses, Tamalachana Afshi, from the only reason I know this word is because there's that verse from Psalm which says I am thirsty. My soul thirsts for thee. Um, that also talks about a me'eretzia, all right, and for a dry land, right? And you can certainly look at the concordance to see all the other places. Yeah, Psalm 63. That's the Beretzia Mayim. What Psalm 63? Matisyahu. If you haven't heard him singing, that's one of it's definitely one of my favorites. Anyway, okay, so that's Tzia means dry. Without water, right? Lo toar, lo means no, right? Not. Toar, so they're translating as form, yeah, I guess. Um, tor, outline, form, yeah. In Genesis 29, yeah, that's fine. I mean, like a dumut, tselem, dumut, yeah. You can, um, yeah, you can look there without without form, low tor, low, um, for him, right? Um, Meritzia, low tor, low. I would probably translate this as it has no form, but we'll see. Um, Lo toar lo, it does not have a form, is how I would translate this, but we'll see. Lo is prepositional lamed with the vav, making it the third person masculine singular to him, right? So lo means not, and this lo means is the preposition to him. Velo hadar, so conjunctive of, again, a lo. Hadar, they're saying comeliness, beauty is how we usually translate it. Hey, dalad resh is the root, um, and you can look up hadar or hidur is beauty or comeliness. Yeah, I guess is fine. The lo hadar, and so it's not. Um, so the land it's saying is without form. This yeah, the lohadar with the well, I guess ugly. Venir ehu. So conjunctive of. The root here is resh aleph hey, which is to see, and it's again in the nifal. Oh no, they're saying it's in the third person. Okay, Vinerehu, and we will see him. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is the imperfect, um, and that's why they're not flipping the first one as well, because this one is. It seems very clear to me that it's not flipped. That we saw, right? This is, yeah, pretty clear that it's in the imperfect first person collective plural. The other thing, what I started off is that it's in the Nephal, and he was seen near Ehu, but no, it makes sense, and we will see him. Yeah. So the root is to see, and that nun is the imperfect of the first person collective plural, right? So we see, will see, and it's not getting flipped. I would say in context, it's pretty obvious it's not getting flipped. And so I guess that's why they didn't flip the first one in context as well, because, and that's what I expected. Venirahu, velo mar'eh venehmedehu. Interesting. So conjunctive of, lo, so and no. They're reading an is in here, which makes sense. Obviously, in Hebrew, there's no present tense of the verb to be. Mar'eh is Mar'eh is a vision. They're saying beauty. Um, I mean, it comes from the same root, resh I aleph hey, which means to look, and mar'eh is a vision. I would say. I'm not sure. I guess it's a good. Well, I don't know why they're translating as a beauty. I'm not a big fan of that, but we'll see what the other people do. V'nechmedehu, right? And so conjunctive of again. Um, Sorry, v'nechmedehu, and so conjunctive of, um, so very similar to v'nirehu, right? Except the nirehu is has lost its hey. Nechmedehu is the three-letter chemed. Um, Chet mem dalet is to well, they're saying desire. Yeah, to um, actually this is the same word. Altich mod, do not covet in the Ten Commandments. Um, but to desire, to want, right? Stechemet, uh, the land that is beloved. Stechemet is the land of Israel, right? So nechmedehu, um, we will desire, um, we will desire it. So yeah, the root there is chemet. Okay, let's look at the translations. King James. For he shall grow before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. Um, right, okay. Yeah. He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there's no beauty that we should desire him. Okay, yeah. Um, okay, I guess. Let's see what NIV does. So the you see the King James is flipping is not flipping it, right? They're keeping it in the imperfect, whereas the NIV has decided that they do believe that it was flipped. The conjunctive of flips, and that's again something you're going to have to decide from context, right? So he grew up before him like a tender shoot. Grew up. Mm, I would have translated it as rose. Rose before him like a tender shoot. And like a root out of dry ground. Okay. He had no beauty or majesty. They're translating Hadar as majesty, I guess. To attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Okay, let's look at what Chabad does. So Chabad is doing it like the NIV. They're saying that it is flipped. Okay, and he came up like a sapling before it, right? Lefanav, right? And like a root from dry ground. So you're gonna have to decide what that lafanav is referring to. They're not doing a capital one. Um, yeah, so I would say that him is actually going on the who, right? Who it's asking, right? It's still part of the same question. Nobody's capitalizing. Okay, so Rashi explains, so will the nations say one to another. So Rashi is reading this as a quote, right? And before this people, before you can read the Rashis. I'm not gonna do all the Rashis. Okay. Um, And Rashi saying this is a question, right? And I would agree with that, right? It's still part of that question, me, right? Um, okay, that's how I would read the Lefanav, and I guess NIV and King James are as well. Okay, and he came up like a sapling before it. Let's say before him. Yeah. Okay. But I guess they're saying because it's the nation. The me is going on nation. I guess. And like a root from dry ground, he shall neither form. He had neither form nor comeliness, and we saw him that he had no appearance. Now shall we desire him? Yeah. Yeah. So however you're gonna do it. I'm not. I'm not sure about the flipping it. Is this in the past tense or in the future tense? I I can honestly see it either way. Venir ehu. Yeah, it's hard to translate this. I'll be honest with you. I understand what it's saying in the Hebrew, but I'm not sure. I might actually translate this Vinirahu as that we should see him, right? V'yal ki yonak lefanav v'chashoresh meretz tzia v'lo tor v'lo hadar v'nirehu v'lo mar'eh v'nechmadehu. Um, you know what? I would actually say, yeah, this is past tense. Yeah, I would probably go with the Chabad here instead of the King James. The King James is flipping it, and I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah. Okay. Up to you. Next verse, and this is the verse I wanted to show you guys. So, nivze v'chadal ishim ish machovot v'yidua choli וכמסתר פנים ממנו נבזה ולא חשבנוהו. Okay, so nivze, the root here is bet azayin hey, to scorn. You know what? I am going to. Yeah. Okay. Um, so bizayon, like Esav when he baza et habechura, he scorned his heritage, right? So it's the same word. It's in the nifal. It's in the um, passive. So nivze, he is despised, right? Nivze, he or it is despised. If you're going on the whole nation, I guess. Um, so despised, he is despised or was. Chadal chet daled lamed. Trying to think of where else this is used. Uh, Psalms. It's only used 3 times in the Bible. To refuse, to forsake, forbear. Um, Psalm 39 and Ezekiel 3 as well. So you can try to look at there. It's not a verb. It's not a root. I mean it's only used 3 times in the Bible. Chet daled lamed. Um, Chadal. Yeah. Okay. Rare root there if you want to take a look at it. Ishim. So and this is in the construct form. Chadal ishim, chadal ishim, right? Rejected by men, rejected of men. Ishim is men, plural. Ish means man, ishim means men. Um, usually, actually, usually it's anashim. We don't see ishim very often. That's also, oh, it's a little bit different. But I guess it's because it just sounds good with ish, right? Chadal ishim, ish machovot. I guess that's why it's using the same word twice. Ish um, is a man. Again, this is in construct. So ish machovot is in construct. So um, machov, the root here is chet, sorry, chaf ein aleph bet, sorry, chaf aleph bet is pain, right? Koev. Um, and here, machov is something that causes pain, okay? And this is in the plural, machovot. It has um, it's actually half milui, half chaser. It doesn't have the first vav, but it does have the second vav, which is, I guess, normal. Um, if you're keeping track of that, but the things that cause pain. So ish machovot, he is a man of things that are that cause pain. So a man of sorrows. They're doing it. Vidua choli. Okay, so Viyadua is this is the word that we ended up discussing in detail, right? So you have the conjunctive of, and then the word is Yidua, okay? And how you want to translate that, the root is obviously Yud Dalad Ein. And what the morphology here is saying is that it's the kal passive participle. Okay, and so I thought we would go into detail with this particular word because it was just so interesting going through, trying to really understand this one word. The root is clear. It's yeda, right? To know, and this is an intimate knowing, right? So the Bible actually uses the word to know. This particular word to know as a euphemism for intimate relations between man and wife. So it says, Adam knew his wife, right? So yeah, vayadua. So this is the word to know, and it's so how exactly and acquainted, known. So what I would recommend you do is you you can look in the concordance, and so this is the concordance for Yedua, Vidua, right? So what it does at the very beginning, right? It gives you the original word, right? It gives you the stem and the definition, right? Yada is and it's in whenever they do that, it's in the past tense first person, sorry, third person singular past tense call. That's where you usually look up a root. Okay. And I did the constructor, if I can find it, right, for yada, right, in the conjugation, the pa'al conjugation here. And they have this dictionary with all the various places that it shows up, right, in the constructor. So that's pretty interesting, right? And yadua, right, um, there in the katul pattern, right, which is what we're talking about here, right? So I guess let's see what they say here. You do inflection. The yeah, that's what they have here is adjective katul pattern. I guess you can look it up. But this is how the constructor is looking at it, and you can try the various things. But this is actually, I mean, we're talking in a form that's pretty rare. So let's look over here where we have the morphology, right? And it says participle passive. And it's giving you a summary. A passive participle is a non-finite verbal form with passive or reflexive voice that can function as a verb or verbal complement, an adjective, or a noun. In Biblical Hebrew, passive participles most often function as either an attributive adjective or a predicative adjective. And you can go down this rabbit hole as much as you want. And again, they're also like the constructor. They're using the word katul to explain this, right? And it says, and it has the function, and it right, and it has note the subject of a verbal participle usually precedes the participle in contrast to the normal convention of Hebrew word order, right? Um, right. I mean, honestly, you can go down this rabbit hole very deep, and if you want to look at all the linguistic forms that go down to it, and try to understand this word completely. That's why I decided to um, to bring it. I personally don't put too much stock in the linguistics. I think they sometimes go a little bit overboard. And so what I do more than trying to understand how the morphology um, is understood by linguists and what exactly they're trying to figure out in this way. What I do instead is in the concordance, what you can do is if you go down all the way down, it tells you how many times it shows up um, in the Bible, which is 942 times, which is a lot of times. And if it was just a few times, I would look at all of them. But we want to know this particular way that it's showing up. So what you can do is you go all the way down, right? Not all the way, but it's in a sort of alphabetical order. So vidua, this is the occurrence that we're talking about, right? Vidua, right? And here it's 53:3, so it's the only time that it shows up in Yidua, V Yidua, um, with the Vav at the beginning. I'm just wondering if Yidua shows up. Yidua does not. Only Vidua does. Yeah, not the easiest thing to do here. But yeah, Yidua, Yidauhu, no, no. Um, yeah, so this is Vidua and Viduim. So Vidua only shows up once, but Viduim, which is the plural form, shows up twice. Okay? And so I decided to look that up. And when you look that up, it's from Deuteronomy 1, which just happens to be this week's verse, uh, this week's Bible thing. And so in Deuteronomy 1:13, it's talking about the men that Moses is supposed to choose to be leaders, right? So it says chachamim u'nevanim ve'yeduim, right? And people who are experienced, whom they're translating as experienced, people who know, right? So you can use this to try to understand particularly what that word is how it's used. And you can go and look in Deuteronomy 1, like I did. And so verse 13 and 15 both use it. Choose some wise men, understanding and respected men. Or King James does take wise men and understanding and known among your tribes. So they're actually translating it as known, right? So that's how you can try to understand a word very, very specifically. Okay, thought I would just take you through that for the word vidua, um, and ultimately, actually, I ended up just translating it based on my understanding. I don't believe. I think you kind of have to get a feel for the language. Vidua choli, so it's in the construct form, right? With holy, right? So someone who knows, and they're translating as grief. I wouldn't translate holy as grief. I would translate it as sickness. Okay, so I don't know why they're doing, um, yeah, sickness. I don't know why they're they're saying grief. I guess in places some people translate it, but usually it's sickness. Um, and you can also look into this, but I usually translate it as sickness. And this was the whole discussion we were having because um, my friend was trying to, yeah, he says that this is obviously Jesus, and I'm reading this, I'm like, hey, hold on here. Vidua Holi, right? Wouldn't it be somebody who's very sickly, right? So that's what made me think, yeah, and that's why we ended up looking this word vidua, and looking at the various things and trying to understand it very completely. So acquainted with, who knows, okay, vidua holy with a person, right, and up to you. But here are all the resources for you to look it up as you like. Holy, right? Like I said, I would translate it as sickness. It's written bechisaron without a vav there, which is normal, but if you're paying attention, so a person who knows sickness, they're saying acquainted with grief. Um, Uchemaster, so the conjunctive of prepositional chaf, right? And like master, the root here is sin, is samach taf resh, which means to hide, right? Um, and master is somebody or who hides, um, and so ucha master panim, and somebody who hides. Um, I don't know why they're translating it that way. Chamaster panim mimenu, and like somebody who hides the face, his face, mimenu, from us. I don't know why they're saying mimeno, from him. I don't understand what they're doing here. Uchamaster panim mimenu, and master is a hider, somebody who hides. You can look it up. It's a normal root. It shows up a lot actually. Um, panim, face, right? And face is always plural in Hebrew. Mimenu, from us, right? Prepositional mem, and then min, and then the vav, the u at the end is us. I don't know why they're saying from him. Nivze, so velo chashav nuhu. So nivze is again same word right at the beginning, right? Despised, same thing. Nivze. Um, oh, V'chamaser panim mimenu nivze. From us, no. I guess. I mean, despised, and you have to decide where you're going to put the is in the sentence because there's no present tense. חמסתר פנים ממנו נבזה ולא חשבנוהו. Okay. Nivze is like the beginning of the verse, below and not. Chashavnuhu. So the root here is chaf, is chet shin bet, which means to think. Machshava is a thought, right? Cheshbon is actually a calculation. An accountant, we said in modern Hebrew, is ra cheshbon, and a computer is a machshev. But chashuv also means something that is important that people think about. And here that seems to be how they're saying it. Chashavnuhu, we did not think of him, right? Velo chashavnuhu. Chashavnu, which here is strangely bechisaron. I would usually write this chashavnu with a vav, but it's not written with a vav. So you can darshan that if you would like. But chashavnuhu, we did not think of him, right? Chashavnu is past is the perfect first person collective plural. Chashavnuhu, and that's the third person masculine singular. Okay. So נבזה וחדל אישים, איש מחבות וידוע חולי, וכמסתר פנים ממנו נבזה ולא חשבנו. So yeah, I would say, and like somebody who hides his face from us, he was despised, and we didn't think about him, right? Or it, depending on how you're going to translate that. Okay, so 53:3, King James, he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. We hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. I don't know why they're saying we hid. No. I don't know why they're doing that. Let's see if the other ones do it the same way. And he was despised and rejected by mankind. A man of suffering and familiar with pain. So they're translating choli as pain. Again, choli is sickness. Like one who, and by sickness, I actually do mean illness, right? Like a sickness, like a tzarat is a choli. Actually, cancer in Yiddish is called yena machla. That sickness, because they don't want to talk about it. Okay. Like one who, from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. People. No, I don't translate it like that either. I'm not sure why they're doing it that way. Okay, let's see what about this. Despised and rejected by men, a man of pains and accustomed to illness, right? And as one who hides his face from us, yeah, that's how I would do it. Despised, and we held him of no account, right? So yeah, that's how I would translate it. And the accustomed to illness, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know why master panim they're doing it that way. I guess because if you're reading it that this is Jesus didn't hide his face. but uh, that's what it says. Like somebody who hides his face from us. So that's how I would translate it. Okay. Um, 53:4. Okay. Achen chalayenu hu nasa umachorenu savalam ואנחנו חשבנוהו נגוע מוכה Elohim umeune. Okay. So this obviously this sentence is now being repetitive of verse 3. It's using the same words, right? And achen means therefore. I would usually translate it as therefore. I don't know why they're translating it surely, but so achen, because of that, I would probably translate it as. You can look that word up. Surely, so it's used in Genesis 28, Exodus 2. It's used several times. 18 occurrences. To me, it seems like it should be, but certainly, nevertheless, surely, truly, verily, they're translating it. Okay, I guess. It makes me think, therefore. Okay. Um, Holayenu. So this word comes from holy, right? So I said sickness in the previous verse. So this is holayenu are things, are sicknesses, right? Things that cause us to be sick, right? Holayenu, yeah, things that cause us to be sick. I would probably are sicknesses. Hu nasa, who is the pronoun third person masculine singular. Nasa, so the root here is nun sin aleph, which means, I mean, this is a common one. It's used many times in the Bible. It's used 653 times. So literally, it means to lift, right? Oftentimes, you'll see nesiat panim, the lifting of the face, or nesiat kapayim, right? The lifting of hands. Right? It means to lift. And the Bible also uses nose avon, right? It says God forgives sin, right? So, and actually, the person I was discussing on the Discord with, he had an interesting way of translating this. Nasa literally means, I think born is fine. Carries, right? Somebody who lifts up, somebody who carries, who bears. But the way he was translating it is um, lifted up and off, like a noseh which I didn't think of that, but it's an interesting way of translating that. I can certainly see how you can say Cholayenu hu nasa, he he lifted off, he took up, right? Um, he removed our sin, our sicknesses, but they're saying that he bore our griefs, and which I guess is the more plain way of saying it. But I actually like that way of putting it, right? He healed our sicknesses. So up to you. Umachovenu. So again, we have the machovot, right, which are things which cause pain, and they're translating it as sorrows, and our sorrows, our pains, right, things that cause us pain, sevalam. So the root here is samech bet lamed, sovel. Sevalanut actually means patience, to have patience. And sovel, a person who is Um, usually, I guess they translate it as suffering, but um, it means um, to kind of sovel. A person who is sovel is somebody who doesn't complain, right? Somebody who suffers things and um, doesn't complain about them. So savalam, right? So are he carried? I would probably say maybe suffered. Sovel. I mean, you can look it up. It's actually a somewhat common word, sovel. How many times is it used? It's used 9 times in the Bible. I actually thought it was probably it would be used more times, but you can look it up. To bear a heavy load, yeah, to carry, yeah, I guess. A person who is sovel, we say, is basically we're talking about somebody who is willing to suffer things, right? Who doesn't complain. Savalam, machovenu savalam. He he suffered them, or it suffered them if you're going on nation. The anachnu, so conjunctive vav, anachnu means we. Um, it's the pronoun first person collective plural. The anachnu, so we, and we. Chashavnuhu, so again, it's using the word chashav, which we had in the previous thing. The root is um, het shin bet, which means to esteem or to think of, right? So in the previous thing, we said we didn't think of it. But here we're saying we did think of him, we esteemed him, which is interesting that it's Nagua. Nagua it means so nega nun gimel ayin is to touch, right? So nagua is somebody who was touched, right? This is the passive participle again, like yadua, right? So nagua, so touched by. Um, muke, so lahakot, the root is hey chaf hey, which means to strike, right? So muke, they're saying it's the whole follow participle, right? So stricken or hit by, right? Maka, the plagues or lashes, right? But this is somebody who is muke, nagua umuke, right? Nagua muke, and this is in the construct form with Elohim, which is one of the names of God. So muke Elohim, um, and and nega, somebody who has been touched, and nega can also be kind of like a sickness. So, um, well, you might call somebody who's nagua, and this is written bemilui with the vav if you're keeping track. Nagua muket elokim. So the Muke Elohim is somebody that God had stricken, somebody that God had punished, right? Kind of reminds me of Job, actually. U me'une. So, and conjunctive vav, me'une, the root here is ayin nun he, la'anot, which means to afflict, so a ta'anit is a fast, right? So some you since you afflict yourself, right? You fast. That's a ta'anit. So me'une is and somebody who is afflicted, right? So they're saying it's the pual participle again. So it's all three of those are participles, um, slightly different from each other in how they're done. And actually, I think these are actually common enough if you want to look in your concordance to see exactly what it's talking about. Nagua, touched, stricken, muke Elohim, right? Smitten by God. God lashed him. God plagued him. Me'une, and made to suffer. Made, you know. Okay, let's see how they're translating it. Verse 4, King James. Surely, so the achen they're translating as surely. He hath borne our griefs, right? So they're translating nose as to bear. I actually like my friend's way of saying it, to lift off. Borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. So sovel they're translating as carried, right? Machovenu they're translating as sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. I would probably translate it as we thought of him, even though it is the same word, right? Uh, I think it's being used a little bit differently, but you can see the parallels between verse 3 and 4. Let's see what NIV does. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him. Stricken by him? I don't know why the by him. See, the King James is actually being a lot more literal, which I prefer. And afflicted. Um, let's see what Chabad does with this. Indeed, they also did indeed. Larashi says Hebrew achen, an expression of but in all places. But now we see that this came to him not because of his low state, but that he was chastised with pains, so that all the nations be atoned for with Israel's suffering. The illness that should rightfully have come upon us, he bore. So this is what Rashi is saying. The achen is always, and you can look up. I mean, how many times achen shows up in the Bible? So Rashi's saying all the times, it's kind of a but. 18 times, and you can look that up if you like. So he's kind of translating as rather. Okay. Indeed, he bore our illnesses. So again, the Cholyanud is it is in the plural. Cholyanud. Yeah, okay. Our illnesses and our pains, machovenu, right? He carried them. So sovel, I guess, carried. Yet maybe I'm using modern Hebrew because in modern Hebrew, sovel is used a lot. Yet we accounted him as plagued. So nagua they're translating as plagued, which nega is actually used in places in the Bible to talk about. Usually it's translated as leprosy, right? Nagua, smitten by God, right? Mukayalakim, and oppressed. Yeah, that's how I would. Me'une. Somebody caused him to be afflicted. Okay, and I think somebody hearing Isaiah would automatically think when they hear Me'uneh, they would think of a ta'anit, they would think of a fast, and it by when we talk about Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Um, in the Bible, it says, "You shall afflict your souls." It uses the same word, the same root, Ayin Nun Hey. I forget exactly how it does it, but if you want to look it up like that, but it does it at least for me it certainly reminds me of ta'anit of a fast day. Um, okay, verse 5. Vehu mecholal mi pasha'enu meduke meduka me'avonotenu musar shlomenu alav u bachavurato nirpe lanu. Okay, so um, I think the reason, okay, well, the who, conjunctive of third person plural pronoun, right, masculine singular, but he, right, so or it, mecholal. So the root here is halal is het lamed lamed is I wouldn't translate it as wounded necessarily. I guess you could. So a halal can be something that's either profaned or hollowed out. Um, and you can look up the places where it's used, and just in the Hebrew, it kind of reminds you of holi, right? Sicknesses, right? And this is one of the things. It doesn't translate very well. Uh, it's kind of rhyming. Alliteration is a way of rhyming, kind of in Hebrew, um, a, making a text more poetic, right? Mecholal mi pashainu. I would almost want to translate. How do I translate it? Pierced, to bore or pierce, halal. Uh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, emptied. But it also, yeah, that's what I thought. In places, it's used as defiled or polluted, right? To make, um, yeah. So it, I yeah, they do translate it as profaned. I would, I would, I would actually translate it possibly as profaned. Yeah, made yeah, so ceremonially profane the altar by a tool of sacred places, sacred things, right? So, yeah, that would mecholal. See, especially because it's kind of talking about the nation made. It's kind of like the holiness, the sanctity was taken out as opposed to wounded. But I mean, obviously, you can also read it as pierced. But that's what I think of. Vehu mecholal mi peshaenu. So pesha, peshin ayin is one way of saying sin, and it's actually usually the like one of the worst sins. It's intentional sin, right? We have different ways of saying sin, and this is obviously an intentional sin. Mi peshaenu from our transgressions, right? Our pesha. Um, so prepositional mem and our, the new at the end is ours, right? So from our transgressions, meduke, meduka, and this root isn't used very often. The root is daled chaf aleph, and pierced is actually, or it says crushed, to crush. Yudaku. Yeah. Oh, it's used a lot more times than I thought in the Bible, actually. 18 times. Yeah. So crushed. Yeah, bruise, breaking the skin. Daka, yeah, nafshi dika. Bruise, you know, Job. So you can look that up. Bruises is fine, I guess. Yeah, crushed, meduka, crushed. Yeah, daka means to crush. Meduka means crushed. Right. Again, we're talking the participle. Meduka me'avonotenu. So avon is so mem prepositional mem. Avon is one of the other ways of talking about a, a sin, iniquities. Okay, I guess avon. I mean, it's a very common way of of saying sin. It's not the sin as in chet, right? When we talk about chet, we mean to miss. Avon is not that same word to miss. Um, so crushed or bruised from our sins again, and avonotenu. It's written without a second vav. I guess this is normal. Um, if you're paying attention, it has the first vav, which it has to have because that's necessary there. It doesn't have the second vav, which I'm not sure if it's. I mean, if you're paying attention, you might want to take a look at it, but here it's chaser. Um, Musar. Okay, so this word musar literally, I think the root is sin, is samech vav resh, but it's a word that's used in. So musar avicha, it's actually used so many times that it's a particular word. So musar. So it says, I think it's in Proverbs. It says musar of the your father's chastisement. Don't don't forget. I think is in Proverbs. Um, but you can look that up if you like. But musar is a chastisement, is a discipline. It has a particular meaning, which is when somebody gives you musar. Somebody actually, when somebody gives you musar, we actually even call there's a type of literature in Judaism called musar, which is um, things that are supposed to remind you of your sin, right? And make you um, take heed of your sins, your chastisements, right? So musar shlomenu, um, and this is interesting. Musar shlomenu. I mean, in it's in construct form. So musar and shalom, um, and shalom obviously means peace. Shlomenu is our peace, written here bemilui, as you would expect, right? Shlomenu, musar shlomenu, the chastisements of our peace. Um, I would almost translate shlomenu not as peace, but our health, right? So we're kind of talking about musar av, right? We're talking about your father disciplining you for your own good. That's what I would talk about. So musar shlomenu, um, alav is upon him. Yeah, I would also put the vav was there because the verb to be obviously doesn't exist in the present tense in Hebrew. Is upon him, right? Was upon him. I would actually put it in the present tense. Um, is upon him, not was upon him. Alav upon him. This is the preposition with the ayin, not aleph, and the third person masculine singular at the end. Alav upon him. Uvachavurato. So the root here is chet bet resh, which means to join. Okay. Um, but interestingly, a chavura is well, they're saying stripes. It's I guess you could say scar. Um, it's what's left because I would probably translate it as scar, right? Where two things were joined and they're split apart, right? So a chavura, stripe, a bruise, a scar. Um, yeah, and you can look up in the concordance for other places. And so conjunctive of prepositional bet, chavura, right? It's written bechisaron without the vav, which I think seems a little strange to me, but okay. The chavurato, and in his scar, um, and it's in the singular, right? It's not in the plural. Chavurato and chavuroto. I would have expected it to be actually in the plural, um, but it's not. Well, I guess the other ones are also in the singular. So okay, chavuroto, and in his well, they're saying it's in the plural. I don't think it's in the plural. Um, yeah, it's not. It's even in the morphology. So there, they're translate. I don't. It's in the singular. Near pe, near pa. Sorry. And the root here is resh pe aleph, which means to heal. Right. So rofe is a doctor. Right. It says Hashem rofecha. God is your healer. Right. And it's in the nifal, perfect, near pa. Lanu. Yeah, was healed for us. Yeah, I would say that makes sense. The other thing you might say is near pa is we will be healed, near palanu, but that doesn't make sense um, to me. Um, yeah. Mm, I guess you could say we will be healed near palanu, or we are healed. Okay, yeah. Lanu is obviously prepositional lamed, first person collective, plural. Okay? And in his scar, near Palano, it is we are healed. Yeah, we are healed. Okay, let's see what King James does with verse 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes, and I don't know why they're doing that plural, we are healed. Well, I can guess why they're doing it plural. NIV. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. Musar shlamenu. No. Musar as punishment, chastisement, maybe, that brought us peace, shlamenu. That's not how we translate musar shlamenu. And by his wounds, again, they're doing it in the plural. Okay, I understand why they would do it in the plural, because in the Hebrew, you will say in the singular what translates in the English, if you're doing generally, right? So the what I usually do is I say in English we say dogs are cute. In Hebrew you would say dog is cute when you're talking generally about all dogs, right? So if you're talking about wounds as in general, right? But it's his wounds, so that doesn't make sense to me. I would say, and by his wound we are healed. Okay. Now let's see what Chabad does with that. But he was pained for our transgressions. crushed because of our iniquities. The chastisement of our welfare was upon him. Yeah, that's how I would translate it. The chastisement of our welfare. Yeah, that makes sense. And with his wound, so again, they're doing it in the singular, we were healed. Um, were healed near pa. Yeah, so it's in the passive near palanu. Um, was healed for us near palanu. It is in the passive. I guess were healed. I guess you would kind of put that in the past tense. Were healed, are healed. It's up to you. Okay, next verse. Verse 6. Kulanu katzon ta'inu, ish ledarko paninu, v'havaya hifgia bo et avon kulanu. Okay. Kulanu. So kol means all. Kulanu means all of us. Okay. Kulanu. And as normal, there's no vav. It's written b'chisaron. Kulanu. Katson. So prepositional chaf with an article. Katson, like the tzon. They're translating as sheep. Yeah, tzon marito. Yeah. Like sheep. Yeah, katson ta'inu. Um, so to'eh means to make a mistake. Root is tough ayin hey, to err, right? Ta'ut is a it's a primitive root to err, to wander. Yeah, ta'inu. I would translate it as a mistake, right? I guess, yeah. Sheep, you would say, have gone astray. Let's say like sheep, we were mistaken. Ta'inu. It's in the perfect first person collective plural. Ta'inu. Um, ish ledarko paninu. So ish ledarko, it's literally man to his way, right? So ish means man. Le is the prepositional lamed. Derech means a way. Darko means his way. So ish ledarko means each man to his way, right? Each man to his own way, which is how they're translating, which makes sense, right? Ish ledarko paninu. Each man went his own way. That makes sense. I'm not sure it makes sense in the English if you translate it as literally, but in Hebrew, ish ledarko, paninu. So this is face. The root is penun he, which is to face or to look towards or a corner. Paninu, we turned, we went, right? So each man went his own way. Vehavaya, and God, and that's the tetragrammaton, obviously. Hifgia, so pe gimel ayin is very similar to naga. It means to touch. Yeah, to encounter, to reach, to touch. Yeah, I think that's. I would probably translate it. It seems like it is like nega, even if it's not related. It sounds a lot like it. So, and they're saying it actually is. So it kind of goes along with the nagua we talked about before, right? Touched, but this is also it's a kind of touched. Hifgia bo, right? And it's in the hefil, it's in the causative. Pega, yeah, hifgia bo, and God reached, touched him, caused him to be touched. Yeah, Vahavaya hifgia bo. Prepositional bet, third person masculine singular. So, and God caused him to be touched. This is in the he fil form. Hifgiabo. Okay. Et avon kulanu. So this is the direct object marker, et, which we haven't had very much here. And like I've said before, the direct object marker, it doesn't have to be when when it is there in, we actually have a tradition to actually darshan that, to actually look at it and say, yeah, this has a meaning. Yeah. Okay. Hifkia et avon kulanu. Hifkia bo et avon kulanu. So he touched all of. He touched. God caused to touch upon him our iniquity, avon, like we spoke before, our sins. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, okay. Let's look at how King James is translating verse 6. All we like sheep have gone astray. Okay. We have turned every one of us to his own way. Yeah. Um, although I'm not sure about the have. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of of us all. Yeah. NIV. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. I'm not sure I would say laid on, maybe. Let's see what Chabad does. We all went astray like sheep. We have turned each one on his way, and the Lord accepted his prayers for the iniquity of us all, of all of us. So Rashi is translating Hifgia as espriade in Old French, an expression of supplication. Hifgia bo. I'm not sure why he says that. Let's see if it shows up in other places. I think Rashi might be saying because of the Hefil form. Yeah. Entreat. I guess, yeah, cause to entreat. That's what Strong's exhaustive concordance. Mafkia, let's see. I want to see how the hefil is used. So again, we can so hifgia, that must be the one occurrence we've had. Hifgati, I will cause the enemy to make. Imlo hifgati becha. No, to entreat. Yeah. Hifgia. Hifgati. This is the hefil form. 46 occurrences of the hefil, it seems. No, not of the hefil, all the pega. Let's see. Mapgia, that's also in the hefil, in Isaiah. Ki ein mafgia vetosha. Yeah, this is to entreat. So the hefil form of hifgia, the hefil form seems to be to entreat. Vayipka, it shows up 5 times. No, that's not. Yipka is not in the he fill. Um, Gea, no. Mapkia. Bamapkia? Did we get Bamapkia? Um, V'yetzav aleha bamapkia. To strike the mark. Let's see what Job is saying here. With Al Kapayim Kisa or V'yetzav aleha b'mapkia. This is talking about God, I guess. Kivam yadim amin yiten ochel lemachtir. So that's also so b'mapkia. I'm just trying to figure out how it's used in Job. Yagid Allah l'rehu mikne af al Allah. There seems, I mean, I understand what Rashi seems to be saying. The Hefil form, Yipkaenu, Pagiel. Let's see what Pagiel is. Oh, that's a name. It's a person. Although Pagiel, why would you call your son Pagiel if it's a bad thing? Um, I think I think you got to think about it. So what Rashi seems to be saying, and I do understand what he means, is that the root form we're talking about in the hefil, right? So pega means to reach. Mafkia means to cause to reach, which is to entreat, to beseech. It's a prayer, something that causes, I guess, a reaching, uh, make intercession, entreat, pray. Yeah. So in other places, I mean, the concordance is also using it that way, and I think the important part is the fact that it's in a hefil. Cause to light upon. Masculine singular hifkia with a hafkia. Cause one to entreat in Jeremiah. Make entreaty, plural hifkiu. Make attack, only participle. Mifka. It is in the hefil form. That much, I mean, is obvious. Partially because the yud is there. It's sort of bemilui, so it's definitely hifkia. V'chavaya hifkia bo et avon kulanu. V'chavaya hifkia bo et avon kulanu. Hifkia bo et avon kulanu. And God caused in him I'm gonna have to think about this. This is an interesting thing. It's a very interesting thing that Rashi is saying. I see what he's saying. I'm not sure how I would translate this. It's very interesting. והוויה הפגיע בו את עוון כולנו. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that personally. If you're interested, go ahead and comment below. Maybe in the future I'll have a better understanding of Hifkia. Okay, 53:7. Nigash vehu na'aneh velo yiftach piv kaseh la tebach yuval וכרחל לפני גוזזיה נעלמה ולא יפתח פיו. Okay? ניגש להגיש, so the root I think is nun gimel shin. Oh, nigas. This is with a sin. I thought it was nigas. Sorry, looking at the wrong one. Nigas. Nagas. To drive, oppress, exact. It's used several times in the Bible. 23 times to oppress. Yeah, I guess it's used. So in the Exodus, it's used noksav. Foremen, taskmasters, noksim. So oppressors, yeah. So I guess oppressed is the right word. Nagas, he was oppressed. Nigas, and it's a nifal. Yeah. Nigasu. So he was oppressed. No, nigas. Vehu naane. Conjunctive vav, who means is pronoun third person masculine singular. Na'aneh, like I said, ta'anit, right? So the root is ayin nun hey, which means like I said, like fasting, but to be afflicted, right? Na'aneh. And they're saying it's in the nifal. Yeah, that makes sense. He was afflicted. He is afflicted. Velo. So and so conjunctive of lo means no and yet not. Yiftach. The root is petach het. Petach means to open. He will not open his mouth. Velo yiftach piv. And he will not open his mouth. So this is in the future tense. He will not open his mouth. Velo yiftach piv. Kaseh latevach. Like a lamb to the slaughter. This is one. I think this is the most famous use of this, but it's prepositional chaf, right? Se is a lamb, yeah, a young sheep. Se, kaseh, la tebach. So um, prepositional lamed with the article, and the ka also has an article. So it's kaseh, like not as a lamb, but as the lamb. Kaseh la tebach. Tebach means to butcher. Yeah. And tevachim, like you may remember, the sar tevachim is actually a when we're talking about Joseph, is the person who is a provisioner, is the major domo of a castle or something, right? Of a king. La tevach. like the slaughter, to the slaughter. Yeah, la tevach. Um, Mitbach is a kitchen because that's where, you cook things. So where you do the, I guess, butchering. Yeah, kasela tevach. Yuval. So um, this is the root is it. Hold on, where did you go? Yuval. Um, the root is Yud Bet Lamed. Used 18 times to lead forth, to be brought. Yeah, Yuval, Tuval, Tuval. Not a word I'm very familiar with. It's used several times in Job. Yuval, to conduct. Not Tevach Yuval, he was led. Okay, I guess. This is the Hofal imperfect. Yuval Shah. Actually, so it should be in the future tense, not in the past tense. Yuval. Latevach Yuval. Ucharachel. So conjunctive of um, prepositional chaf without a article. Rachel is a sheep. Rachel is also the name Rachel. Yeah. And as a sheep, lifnei, before. So prepositional lamed, pnei means face. So lifnei, I mean, it's in the construct form, is with gozez, but in front of gozezeha. So gazaz, gimel zayin zayin is means to shear. It's specifically means to like shave, um, like an animal. So like they shear sheep. So gazeha are the ones. It's in the plural. It's shearers, right? Gozeha lifnei, like a sheep in front of its shearers. Gozeha, her shearers. It's in the feminine because Rachel is in the feminine. Um, Ne'elama. So Aleph Lamed Mem, I believe, means a mute. To bind, alam. Oh, so alumotab, right? So when we talk about, yeah, it is used as mute as well. Um, of the mouth, to be tongue-tied, right? To be mute. Nelamim. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it does refer to, I thought, alumim, to sheaves of grain. Um, yeah, but it also means to bind, but ne'lama, gozezeha ne'lama. It's silent, like a mute. Velo yiftach piv. Again, is it second? Yeah, the lo yiftach piv. It says twice. It's the exact the same, and he will not open his mouth. It says it twice in the future tense. Let's see. I don't think they're going to translate it in the future. Verse 7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. And he is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. So now they're doing it in the present tense. Let's see what NIV does. It. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent. Is silent? Okay. So he did not open his mouth. Again, they're doing it in the past tense, but it's in the future tense in Isaiah. Um, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, right? Yet he would not open his mouth. Like a lamb to the slaughter he was brought, and like a ewe that is mute before his shearers, he would not open his mouth. Mm, yeah, I'm just wondering why it's not in the, I mean, it is in the future tense. It's an imperfect. It's an incomplete action, right? It's an incomplete action. I'm not sure why they're translating it. I mean, I guess yeah, it's translating in the present tense. I would not. I understand. Like he would not open. I understand, but in the past tense, did not open. I'm not. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, verse 8. מעוצר וממשפט לוקח, ואת דורו מי ישכח, כי נגזר מארץ חיים, מפשע עמי נגע למו. Okay. This is, oof. Okay. Let's take it word for word. This is a hard sentence, a verse. Okay, me'otzer. So, prepositional mem. Excuse me. So, ayin tzadik resh means to. Well, otzer can mean a treasury, I believe. Restrain, coercion, otzer, restrain. Huh. Shows up 3 times, it says. Oppression. So I guess I'm thinking of otzer with an aleph. Yeah, it must be because that's they're not translating it that way as well at all. Atzara is an assembly. Atzeret. Oh, like atzeret. Okay. Etzer. Restrain. Atzeret means to come together. Atzar. Okay. I guess the rare root to restrain. Okay. Me'otzer from being restrained, so prison I guess is fine. It's written without a vav. It's bechisaron. Mishpat. So conjunctive vav mem is from is the prepositional mem. Mishpat means judgment. The root is shin pei tet, which means to judge. I mean, this is shofet is a judge. This is used many times. Mishpat. Me'otzer umimishpat lukach. And this root lakachat lamed kaf kuf chet, I guess is the root. It's one of these weird roots that shows up so many times. I don't want to discuss it. It means to take. So lukach means was taken. It's again the passive person. Call passive perfect. Lukach, he was taken. So from prison and from judgment, he was taken. Ve'et doro. So conjunctive of the direct object marker Doro, his generation. Dor is a generation. Doro is his generation. It's written bemilui as it should be. Um, Mi yeshochech. So shachach means to forget. Shin chat chat chat. They're saying declare. Me, who will declare? Mi yeshochech. Shachach means to forget. I thought. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of shikha with a chaf. Sorry, I'm not really good at this sometimes. Sometimes my brain isn't working as well as it should be. Okay. 21 occurrences. Meditate, mediate, speak for, complain, commune, to ponder, converse. Okay. Mi yeshachech. Ve'et doro, and his generation, who will declare? Not really sure. Who will complain? Not sure. Ki nigzar. So ki means because or for. That's the conjunction. The root gezer, gimel zayin resh. Yeah, I guess it can mean to be cut off, but nigzar also means like a gezerah is an edict. So since we're talking about mishpat, nigzar, I wouldn't say cut off. I would actually say um, he. Well, apparently here it means there was a decree of exile. Nigzar me'eretz chaim. Ki nigzar me'eretz chaim. Because he was cut off. Yeah, I mean, I would actually say there was an edict from the land me eretz, right? Prepositional mem, and then eretz means land. And there's no the. It's the article isn't there in the Hebrew. Me eretz chaim, from, and it's in the smichut. So eretz chaim, the land of the living, right? Chaim means life. It's in the plural as always. And as usual, it's written b'milui with the yud. So ki nigzar me'eretz chaim et doro mi yishokach, and his generation, who will speak up for his generation, because he was cut off from, or is cut off. Hu nigzar me'eretz chaim mi pesha ami nega lamo. Oh, okay. Prepositional mem, pesha, we said before, is a form like intentional sin, right? And it's in the construct form with ami, of my people, right? Nega lamo. So nega, like nagua, we had before, we talked about to touch, to be stricken. Lamo is an interesting way of saying to him. I'm surprised the concordance doesn't have a concordance entry for lamo. It's it's a preposition. I would actually say it's probably here for poetics uh, purposes. Let's see, the previous verse, peeve, lamo, and the next verse. Why am I doing this when I could be looking at the thing? Lama. Nega alama. It's law. I'm just seeing if it's. It seems. I mean, they're all ending with vav. The these several verses. So although they don't necessarily, right? Nirpalanu avon kulanu yiftach piv nega lamo mirma bepiv. So I guess it's kind of rhyming a little bit, and that's why it's using lamo. It's a weird word to use. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so 53:8. He was taken from excuse me, from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. Okay, I guess, kind of. Let's see what NIV says. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? No, no, no. I cannot see why they would do that. Ve'et doro. No, there's a direct object marker. No, there's a direct object marker. You can't do that. No, sorry, because unless you're going to try to say no, that et is not a direct object marker. It's the preposition with. Ve'et doro mi yeshochet. No, who will? I'm sorry, you just can't do that. They may be looking at different verses, but to say who from his generation, no, no. To his generation, of his generation, maybe, but there's a direct object marker there, and they're just ignoring it. Yet who of his generation? No, protested. I'm sorry, I just will have to disagree. For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people, he was punished. So let's see what the root is, what the notes. There's two notes. Or from arrest, or generation considered that he was cut off from the land of the living, that he was punished for the transgression of my people. Yet who of his generation protested? Yet who of his generation considered? I'm not sure what they're doing here. I'm sorry. I don't even understand what they're writing because the note doesn't clearly state how they're doing it. And they put two notes into one sentence and they translated it in ways I simply can't understand. So I have no idea what they're trying to say. Sorry, NIV, I don't know what you're doing, but that's me. Okay, verse 8, from imprisonment, so they're also saying imprisonment, and from judgment he is taken, and his generation who shall tell? Right. And his generation who shall tell? So Rashi is saying that his generation is the years that passed over him. For he was cut off from the land of the living, because of the transgression of my people, a plague befell him. Yeah. I mean, that's how I would translate it. It's a difficult verse to really know what it's saying, because I don't know what it means. et doromi yeshachach, who will declare his generation, his years. I gotta think about this as well. This is not a clear prophecy, I'll say that much for it. Yeah. Ve'doro mi yeshocha, ki nigzar mi eretz ha'chaim. And I'm actually kind of, I mean, what exactly does it mean? Ki nigzar mi eretz ha'chaim, that he was cut off. Well, no, I mean, I would say he was exiled from the land of life, which is, I mean, I would say the land of Israel. Yeah, I would actually say that this refers to the exile. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about this, but it seems to me that it's actually talking about exile here. Mi pesha ami negalamo. Mi pesha ami negalamo. Mi pesha ami negalamo. Yeah, from the sins of my people. Yeah, from the sins of my people, he was. Yeah, the sins of my people caused him to be afflicted, to become sick. See, there's a lot of language of sickness in this chapter, which if you're going to say that this is talking about Jesus, I don't, because nega is like leprosy, and we do talk about Mashiach or Mashiach ben Yosef um, being leprous, or in the Jewish people as a whole. But I mean, at least in the Greek Bible, really there Jesus is never portrayed as being a sick person, and I don't know if they would have portrayed him that way. I mean, I don't know what's I don't know what the Greeks would have thought of a sick God. They may have rejected that idea. And there's a lot of language of like leprosy there, choli, mecholal. There's a lot of so uh-huh. And muka elokim, stricken by God. We like that makes me think of the plagues, right? The makot. So yeah, really that's making me think. Vayiten et rashaim kivro, ve'et ashir bemotav, al lo hamas asa, velo mirma bepi. Interesting. Okay, so vayiten, so conjunctive of yiten. This is latet, which is one of those verbs like lakach, which shows up a lot of times and it's difficult. But it's obvious what it's saying is to put or to give. Here I would say he gives vayiten, and obviously this is because of the verb, it may be flipping. So while it's in the imperfect, you might say that it's actually talking about a completed action, and he gave. Et is et rishayim. I don't know why they're saying. Oh, because they. I'm sorry, but Veitan et rishayim I would not say is the preposition. That's clearly the direct object marker, because it couldn't possibly be. because Rishaim is in the plural. So if it was in the plural, it would be Itam. I'm sorry. No, that's not what's going on here. I'm really sorry about that, but no. Vayitan et Rishaim, and he gave to the wicked, Resha, Reshin Ayin means wicked, right? Resha. Um, and Reshaim are wicked people, right? Hebrew. And he gave, either he gave or he will give to evildoers his grave. Kivro, kever is a grave. Uf bet resh is a grave to like burial, right? So kivro is his grave where he was buried. Well, yeah, his grave, kivro. Kever is a grave. So either he did give or he will give evildoers his grave. Um, I'm not sure why how you would interpret that to be Jesus, because Jesus left the grave and evildoers died and were, you know, even if you're going to even if you're going to interpret this as being Mashiach ben Yosef, and I am very sympathetic to the idea that Mashiach ben Yosef is Jesus, I don't see how this is referring to Jesus. Um, yeah, I'm going to rethink this. Beitena et Roshaim Kibro, and well, I would say I would keep it probably in the future tense. Ve'et Ashir bemotav. So conjunctive vav, they're saying that et is a preposition, is a preposition with, sorry, no, and to Ashir, the rich. Yeah, I mean in the this is in the singular. Um, Ashir ben Motab. So they're saying ben Motab is a prepositional bet. Mot, it means death. Without a vav here, with bechisaron, Motab, um, and his death. I almost want to say that this is actually referring to a bama, not the motab. See, they're saying it's death, but I almost want to say is a bama is a high place, is an altar. A motab. Could it be a bama? Well, I'll see how Chabad does it, but and to the rich in his death. Not sure. Al lo Hamas asa. So al is the preposition with the ayin. Here, I do agree with the idea that it's because al lo Hamas asa, because lo means not, Hamas is violence. By the flood, it says that the land was filled with Hamas, right? So yeah, violence. Yeah, it's kind of like I would say sin, right? Lo Hamas, that he did not do bad things, uh, because he did not know bad things. Velo mirma bepiv. Um, So conjunctive of lo means not. Mirma is deceit, like they're saying. You can look up other places in the concordance. Befiv is not in his mouth, right? Prepositional bet. Pe means mouth. Piv means his mouth. Um, וייתן את רשעים קברו ואת עשיר במותיו, על לא חמס עשה ולא מרמה בפיו. See, I almost want to translate this um, instead of give. Well, they're saying they made. וייתן את רשעים קברו. I would okay. Now I'm rethinking this with just because of how the English. So if you say that the veiten means to set, right? Not to give, but to set, right? Veiten et rashaim kivro, right? Um, so in the English, to see that's the thing. This doesn't translate very well. If you want to say that as opposed to he gave the his grave to evildoers, you want to say that his grave was set to the evildoers. Ve'yiten et rashayim kivro, right? And he sets to the evildoers his grave. Um, yeah, you can say among, right? Like that's not the with. That's not the preposition. It's still the direct object marker, and it couldn't be the direct object marker uh, with the plural because it would be itam. I mean, could the be 10 et kivro Rishon? But I mean, if the direct object marker is going on kever, it wouldn't be put before Rishayim. So it has to be the direct object marker because it's in the wrong form to be going with Rishayim. The et has to refer to the Rishayim because it's right before Rishayim as opposed to Kibro. I guess if you want to say that the Yiten is not to give to them, but to set among them, right? So, um, I guess yeah, you could say that. Yeah, that he set um, his grave among the Rishayim and his death among the rich. Yeah. See, I don't see how this is being translated. I honestly don't understand what the prophecy is referring to, and thinking about it, trying to understand it um, as Jesus is making less and less sense to me as we're going along. And I could believe that it's talking about the Jewish people somewhat as a whole, or that it's some sort of prophecy for Mashiach ben Yosef that hasn't been fulfilled yet. Yeah, let's see how they're translating this. Okay, let's look at King James, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Mm, let's see. Um, NIV, he was assigned a grave with the wicked. So they're putting the Yitan as as like I thought to put, right? Um, he was assigned, and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was there any deceit in his mouth. I'm curious to see how does it. And he gave his grave, yeah, he gave his grave to the wicked, and to the wealthy with his kinds of death. But Ashir ben Motav. Oh, because motav is in the plural. Um, motav is in the plural. Yeah, his deaths. So it's a plural deaths. So that's really interesting because so it's kind of like a parallel structure, right? It's saying Rashaim Kibro, right? His grave to the wicked, his deaths to the rich. And Rishaim is in the plural and grave is in the singular. And then rich is with his deaths, plural deaths. And that's not just in the vocalization because that yud there is in the consonantal text. So unless you're going to say that the consonantal text is different, um, yeah, it's flipping the well. So you see how um, Rishaim Kibro Ashir Bemotav, right? So it's plural, singular, singular, plural. Yeah. Let's see. Um, and to the wealthy with his kinds of death, because he committed no violence and there was no deceit in his mouth. Let's see what Rashi says. To the wicked, according to the will of the wicked, he was willing to be buried, and he would not deny the living God. Vayitan et Roshaim Kibra. And to the wealthy with his kinds of death. To the will of the ruler, he subjected to all kinds of death that he decreed upon him because he did not wish to agree to the denial. Okay, Rashi's accept. Vet Ashir ben Motab. Yeah, yeah, Rashi makes more sense to me here, right? Veyiten et Rashaim Kivro. And he gave his thing to many evildoers and to the ruler in his deaths, in the types of. See, now this makes me say that really you have to say this is talking about a nation because how does an individual have plural deaths, kinds of death? Okay. Next verse. Okay. Vahavaya chafetz dako hecheli im tasim asham nafsho yireh zera yarich yamin yireh zera yarich yamin v'chefetz havaya biyado yitzlach. Interesting. Okay, let's go word for word. Vahavaya. So conjunctive vav, and then the tetragrammaton. So yet, yeah, I guess, yet vav gets translated in many different ways, and as usual, could be yet, yeah, could be but here. Um, Chafetz, chet pe tzaddik means to desire, to want. You can look it up in the thing. It's um, wanted, and God wanted dako. So daka, we said it was crushing, right? Dako means his crush, his bruise, right? And God wanted his like, yeah. Hecheli. So the root here is chet lamed yud, but this is in the he like they're saying. Um, Hecheli im huh, Hecheli caused sickness. I don't know why they're saying grief caused him to be sick. Im means, I mean, they're saying when. I would say if usually. It's not. Don't confuse this with the ayin, which means with. Um, this is it. This may be if. Im tasim asham nafsho. Yeah. Um, seems to me like it's if there. Tasim lasum sin vav mem is to put, and this is in the hefil. No, it's in the call. Tasim, you will put. Um, imperfect. Yeah, imperfect. It's an imperfect. Third person feminine singular. Yeah, tasim. In tasim asham nafsho. It's in the feminine. Vaya chafetz dako hechli in tasim asham nafsho. Oh, it's going on nefesh. If you put his soul, well, asham means a sin. It isn't sin, and they're saying an offering of sin, and there are sin offerings, obviously, right? So this could be referring to intasim asham nafsho. If you put a sin offering or a sin on his soul. Interesting. Yireh zera, he will see, right? The root here is resh aleph hey, which means to see. Yireh is in the imperfect. He will see. Zera means seed, right? He will see seed. Yarich yamim. So the root here is aleph resh chaf, which means the width or length, right? But this is in the hefil, yarich. Will prolong, will cause to be lengthy, yamim, his days. Days, yeah, yarich yamim. It's a very common phrase. V'chefetz havaya beyado yitzlach. Interesting. So conjunctive of chefetz, like here, chafatz, but a chefetz is a noun. So, I mean, a chefetz havaya. So it is in the construct form, and the pleasure of God or what God wants, beyado yitzlach, in His hand, beyado, right? And the desires of God or the pleasure of God, will of God, yes, beyado, in His hand. Prepositional bet. Yad means hand. This is in the singular, and the vav is his, third person masculine singular. So beyado, in his hand, yitzlach. So the root is tzadik lamed chet, which we usually, it's a root we usually translate to success, right? Yitzlach will be successful, will prosper. The chet is in his hand will. Vahavaya chafetz dako hechli im tasim asham nafsho. I want to see how they're translating this. Okay, let's look. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He had put him to grief. He had put him to grief. Im tasim. Oh, hechli. Not sure why that. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, im asham tasim nafsho. If you were to put his soul as a sin offering, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Im tasim asham nafsho. See, I would actually say, if you put the sins upon him, yeah, I wouldn't say the asham. I would say asham is just sin. I wouldn't say an offering of sin. I don't see it there. We'll see what it says. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, and though the Lord, well, I don't know where they got the Lord from. It's if, and the tasim is in the feminine. And the only feminine is nefesh. So the tasim is in the feminine here. So I'm not sure where they got God from, the Lord from, especially since Christians don't refer to God as in the feminine in any way. Makes his life an offering for sin. He will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hands. Let's look at the thing. Though you make. Okay, so if tasim, it's not the third person feminine singular. If it's the the morphology, they're saying that you make tasim. Okay, and it's not in the feminine like the morphology of Bible Hub says. In tasim asham nafsho. Yeah, that makes sense. And if you put asham nafsho, if you put sin on him, let's see what Chabad does with that. And the Lord wished to crush him. He made him ill. Yeah. If his soul makes itself restitution, he shall see his children. He shall prolong his days, and God's purpose shall prosper in his hand. So they're doing it like Bible Hub, that the tasim here is referring to nafsho. So if his soul, right? Well, let's see what Rashi says. And the Lord made him ill, right? If his soul makes rest, said the Holy One, blessed be he, I will see if his soul will be given and delivered with my holiness to return it to me as restitution for all that he betrayed me. I will pay him his recompense, and he will see his children, etc. The word asham is an expression of ransom that one gives to the one, um, no thank you, against whom he sinned, amend in Old French, to free the false. Similar to the matter mentioned in the episode of the Philistines, 1 Samuel 6:3, do not send it away empty, but you shall send it back with a guilt offering. So let's see what Samuel 6:3 is referring to. 6:3. Okay. ויאמר אם משלחים את אהרון אלוקי ישראל אותו רקם כי ישב תשיבו לא אשם אז תרפאו ונודע לכם למה. Right. So if she puts an asham, so if his soul gives an asham, like here, yeah. I think I see it. I hope it's clear to you as well. So im tasim asham nafsho, right? So if his soul makes restitution, if his soul makes restitution, all these good things will happen. Yeah. Okay. Let's. So I mean, I wouldn't translate this anywhere near what they're translating it as. I'm sorry. It's just. Sorry, it's just plain wrong. Okay. 53:11. Amal nafsho yireh yisba beda'ato yatzdik tzadik avdi l'rabim va'avonotam hu yisbo. Okay, so prepositional mem. Amal is labor. Ayin mem lamed. Amal. It's in the construct form with nafsho. So again, like nafsho, which we had in his previous sentence, his soul, right? Ma'amal nafsho, from the work of his soul. Yeah. So the asham nafsho, right, is right. Yeah. So that's what it seems to be referring to. Ma'amal nafsho yireh. Root is resh aleph hey, to see. It's in the imperfect, and it's masculine because amal is masculine, right? Yireh, from the labor of his soul, he'll see, right? Yireh yisba. He will see that he will be satisfied. The root here is sin bet ayin, which means to be satisfied, to be filled. Like we talk about, like food, right? You're no longer hungry. You're savata. You were filled, right? So we'll be satisfied. Amal nafsho yireh yisba. So he will see rewards from the labor of his soul. Yeah, so it's in the imperfect, right? Beda'ato, so prepositional bet. Da'at is knowledge, right? From the root I guess, yud daled ayin or daled aleph ayin hey. But in his knowledge, beda'ato, but yatzdik. So the root here is tzadik daled qof, which means which is tzedek is I mean, they're saying justify, it's righteousness, it's to be righteous, it's to do right, right? Yatzdik. So this is in the hefil, it's in the causative. Yatzdik tzadik. So this is I mean, obviously it's using it repetitive language. He shall make the righteous, he shall justify the righteous. Yeah, I guess. With his knowledge, he shall justify the righteous. So, yeah, this is used in other places in the Bible, the Hefil form, to talk about judges, right? Finding the innocent, right? To showing that the innocent are innocent. So, with his knowledge, he shall justify the righteous. Yeah, I guess that's how you would say tzaddik, obviously. We usually translate it actually either the righteous or the saintly, right? A tzaddik. Avdi larabim. So Eved Ein Bet Daled means to serve, or and Eved is a slave, literally, or a servant, right? And we talked about that. So Abdi, my servant, larabim. So prepositional lamed with the article to the rabim means many, right? Abdi l'rabim, my servant for the many or to the many. Ve'avonotam hu yispol. So again, like we had towards the beginning, conjunctive of avon is a type of sin. Avonotam, their sin, written without a vav, without bechisaron, which isn't. I mean, I think is normal. Who yispol, pronoun third person masculine singular. He yispol, like we talked about before, is to bear or to suffer. I would actually probably translate this as suffer. Let's see how they translate this. He shall see of the travail of his soul and shall be satisfied. Okay, yeah. Travail. Okay. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many. What? Beda'ato yatzdik tzadik avdi l'rabim. Beda'ato yatzdik tzadik avdi l'rabim. Oh, okay. So with his knowledge, a tzaddik, a righteous person, shall justify my servant to the people. That's how they're translating it. So they're saying that the righteous is the one who's doing it. I don't like that very much. We'll see what. Yeah. So that's for he shall bear their iniquities. Bedato yatzdik tzadik abdi l'rabim va'avonatam hu yispo. See, okay, what I don't like about this is if you're saying that that the tzaddik, that the righteous person is the one who is justifying my servant, then the he is going on your servant. I'm not sure about that. We'd have to think about that. Okay. Let's see how they do it. NIV. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. Uh, don't even know where they're getting this from. And there's tons of notes. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many. See, that's what I thought as well. My righteous servant will by him. And he will bear their iniquities. So, by his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Okay, let's look at the notes here. Dead Sea Scrolls, see also Septuagint. Masoretic text does not have the light of the light of life. So, oh, so I guess the thing has me'apal nafsho yireh, light of his life, right? So there are two words here in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint. Um, but the Masoretic text doesn't have it. Well, they're saying C also Septuagint, so I guess there are versions of the Septuagint which do similarly, but okay, we'll see. Um, or with Masoretic text, he will see the fruits of suffering and will be satisfied. What? Where are they getting? Ma'amal nafsho yireh yispa b'da'ato. Let's see what about this. From the toil of his soul he would see, he would be satisfied. With his knowledge, my servant would vindicate the just for many, and their iniquities he would bear. Yeah, so bedato yatstik tzadik abdi l'rabim va'avonotam hu yispol. I'm going to read the King James Version just one more time just to make sure I understand how they're translating it. He shall see of the travail of his soul and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many. See, for many. Would vindicate the just for many. Or to the many. Right, so servant is the one who's doing the action. And with his knowledge, yatstik tzadik l'rabim. Let me see what Rashi says. Um, Rashi's not talking about l'rabim. I guess to the public. For the public, I I guess. See, this is I'm having a lot of difficulty really understanding what this is saying, and the King James and the NIV are not helping much. Um, I'm just gonna, I mean, I'm just gonna leave it, probably think about it and come back to it. For he shall bear their iniquities. Okay, last verse. לכן אחלק לו ברבים, ואת עצומים יחלק שלל, תחת אשר הארה למוות נפשו, ואת פושעים נמנע, והוא חטא רבים נשא, ולפושעים יפקיע. Okay, so this last verse is actually making clearer what I wasn't quite understanding from the two previous verses that I said I was going to leave. Kind of. Let's do the thing. So lachen, therefore, right? Achalek. So the root is chet lamed of, which means to apportion. To achalek. It's in the first person common singular. I will divide up or give out, right? Lachen achalek lo. I will give portions to him. Ba rabim, to the many, right? Well, they're saying in the great. It's prepositional bet with the article rabim is many, right? So like we had la rabim. See, if you're translating this like Rashi is, that it's referring to the nation of Israel, I would actually say barabim is talking about to the many, like the many nations. Ve'et atzumim yechalek shalal. So conjunctive vav, et, I'd say it's the direct object marker, but they're trying to say it's what the preposition with. Atzum, so ayin tzadek mem means essence. Atsumim are strong ones, right? Atsum, with written bemilui with the vav. Atsumim and the yod. It's double milui. Yechalek. So this is again like chalek. So I will give a portion to him before the many, and he shall divide. Shalal is spoils, right? Yichalek shalal to apportion, to give out spoils, right? To the strong ones he will give the spoils. Tachat asher. Tachat means literally means under. But I mean upon, because, instead of, right? So eye for an eye is actually ayin tachat ayin, right? So this is saying because he because he was of the things that happened to him, that's why he's going to have this position, right? Tachat asher is the pronoun relative. He'era ayin resh he, poured out. Ayin resh he, to be naked or bare. Tar, laid bare, era shows up. many times in the Bible? 15 times, not a lot um, not a lot of times. Leave destitute, discover, empty, make naked, pour out, raise, spread, self, uncover. Yeah. Asher ha'era lamavet, until he was poured out. No, he was made destitute. I would say hera. It's in the Hefil with um, third person masculine singular. Hera was made bare. I'm not even sure I would say that that's in the Hefil. It's not a um. Let's see Hera. Let's see if it's gonna give us three occurrences. Hera. So in Leviticus, et mekora hera vehigilta. It's in Leviticus 20. It's Shera hera. So let's look at Leviticus 20 and see what's Leviticus 20 is telling us. Et mekoraher vehigilta, caused to be uncovered, laid bare, laid naked. Yeah. So Asher Ha'era Lamavet. He caused to be naked. I mean, this is there in it's being used in a very sexual manner. Hera Lamavet, on to death, right? Prepositional lamed with the article mavet means death. Lamavet, you know, unto death. It's a common expression. To do something like unto death means, you know, yeah. It's I think in Jonah it says God asks him, "Why are you so sad?" And he says, or says, "Are you sad?" And he's like, "Yes, onto even death." Right, and it's a similar thing. He I would almost say he revealed himself even unto death, right? He exposed himself to death. Exposed. Maybe exposed is the best word there. Okay. Heranafsho. He exposed his soul to unto death. Sher hera lamavet nafsho. Yeah. Yeah. And nefesh is soul. That's one of the ways of saying soul. Nafsho, his soul. Ve'et posh'im nimna. So conjunctive vav. Et is the direct object marker, but they're saying it's in the it's with the preposition. But if it was the preposition, it should be in shouldn't it be? Ve'et posh'im nimna. I want to say it's the direct object marker, but they're saying it's the preposition with. And posh'im, we spoke about pesha. It's written with without a vav, bechisaron, which I'm not sure it was before. But among the posh'im nimna, the root is mem nun he. which means to number, to be accounted, right? To even like somebody who's voted something is called nimna. It's in the nifal. It's in the passive, right? It's poshim nimna. Among, I would probably say, kind of like, yeah, I guess among the poshim, the sinners, he was numbered. Vehu chet rabim nasa. Um, so conjunctive of who means he. Chet. Now this is the first time we've used this form of sin, which is to miss the mark, right? So chet rabim of the many. Chet rabim. It's in the construct form. Chet rabim, the sin of the many. Nasa. So this is bore, yeah. Or as my friend was using it before regarding thing, he lifted off, right? He took up. Vela poshim, so conjunctive of lamed with the article, poshim again written bechisaron without the vav, same thing. Yafkia. So this is again the hefil of he gimel ayin, right? And here it's clearly a good thing. So it doesn't make sense to me what they were, the other way they're trying to translate it. It is intercession, and they're translating it as intercession as well. And it's the exact same word in the same chapter. So, no, honestly, it seems to me. Okay, so let's finish with the thing. The punctuation here. That sameh uh, stands for satum, meaning there is a closed break in the scroll. If you look in the scroll itself, this is like a paragraph marker. There's two types of breaks. There's this closed break and the open break, and this is a closed break, which is uh, I get a lesser break than an open break. Um, because it doesn't show as well when you're looking at the columns. Um, so it's kind of like a paragraph marker as opposed to maybe a chapter marker. Okay. So this is a satum. Let's look at how they're translating. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. So they're translating that as intercession here. I don't know why they didn't translate it as intercession previously. Okay. Let's look at the end. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors, for he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. So they're also doing So let's look at the two things. Notes they have is many and numerous. So yeah, no. Let's see what Chabad does. Therefore, I will allot him a portion in public, barabin, and with the strong he shall share plunder. Ve'et atzumim yichalek shalom. And they're doing with as well. Mm, because he poured out his soul to death, and with the transgressors he was counted, and he bore the sin of many and interceded for the transgressors, right? So really, I mean, it seems to me that Yafgia, right, the Hefil form of Pega has to be to make intercession, right? And when we're talking about Rabim, which is used in the previous verse as well, it's the many, the public. Honestly, more so than I did before, I'm going with, I think Rashi really has it right. Um, I mean, I looked at this last night as well, and I was reading it a as possibly talking about Mashiach ben Yosef, which I might I am of the opinion may refer to Jesus, but this really doesn't seem to refer to Jesus. There's a lot of things here which just don't go with what the Christian translation is saying. Especially, I mean, this Yafkia, they use Yafkia. Um, where was that? והוויית ואיכולי אינטנסיב. Where'd that go? Which verse were we looking at? That's not it. Where was Pegia? Yafkia. Sham. Right. So, no, that was. Okay, I'm gonna have to go all the way at the first. Hifkia, right? So it's in verse 6. So it's the exact same word, right? So, and God, Hifgia bo, right? And then later, we have him doing that to the sinners. So unless you're going to say that Hifkia, so let's look at verse 6 in the King James. All we like sheep gone astray, we have turned, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of all of us all. Unless you're going to say that he is putting the right thing, unless you're going to say that he's you can't have it both ways. It's the same word. Verse 6 and verse 12 both use the same word. And while you may want, right? So let's see, the way Rashi has it, and the Lord accepted his prayers for the iniquity of us, of all of us, right? So the Lord made intercession, right? Expression of supplication, like Rashi's saying. I mean, you're using the word very differently in the same chapter. Doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, so make with it what thou wilt. That's chapter 53. I was going to do Genesis 20 as well, but honestly, this has taken a lot longer than I thought it would. So I am going to end this video here. Um, and as always with this verse, Ki az epoch el amim safa berura likro chulam b'shem havaya lo shkem echad. Right? So God will restore a pure language upon so that all of us can call together in the name of God. Um, and hopefully this will be clarified to us soon. Um, and we won't have to wonder what things mean because we will know. You all.